In the summer of 1969, the world watched as humanity prepared to do the impossible, set foot on the moon. The mission was Apollo 11, and it would forever change the way people saw themselves and the universe. At the height of the Cold War, the United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a fierce space race. The Soviets had launched Sputnik, the first satellite, and Yuri Gagarin, the first man in space. But President John F. Kennedy had thrown down a challenge. Before the decade was out, America would land a man on the moon and return him safely to Earth. 8 years later, that promise was about to be fulfilled. Apollo 11 launched on July 16, 1969, from Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Sitting atop the massive Saturn V rocket were 3 astronauts: Neil Armstrong, Buzz Aldrin, and Michael Collins. Armstrong, the commander, was calm and steady. Aldrin, the lunar module pilot, was brilliant and precise. Collins, orbiting in the command module, would keep the spacecraft ready for the return home. The Saturn V thundered to life with a power unlike anything the world had seen. Millions watched live as the rocket rose into the sky, carrying the hopes of humanity. After 3 days traveling through the emptiness of space, Apollo 11 entered lunar orbit. The moon loomed larger and larger in their windows. On July 20th, Armstrong and Aldrin climbed into the lunar module named Eagle. Michael Collins remained alone in the command module, Columbia, circling the moon and waiting for his crewmates' return. As Eagle descended, alarms suddenly rang inside the cramped cabin, error codes that could have forced an abort. But Mission Control, calm and confident, reassured them to press on. The descent was tense. The autopilot guided Eagle toward a dangerous boulder field, and Armstrong had to take manual control. Fuel was running low, less than a minute's worth remained, when he found a safe spot. At 4:17 p.m. Eastern Time, Armstrong's voice crackled through the radio. "Houston Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed." Applause erupted across Mission Control, and around the world, people cheered in disbelief. 6 hours later, the hatch opened. Millions watched live on black and white television as Armstrong climbed down the ladder and spoke words that would echo through history. That is one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. Humanity was walking on another world. Aldrin soon joined him, describing the surface as magnificent desolation. For over 2 hours, they explored, collected rocks, and set up experiments. They planted the American flag not as a symbol of conquest, but as proof of achievement. Collins, orbiting above, looked down and realized he was the only human not connected to Earth or the moon at that moment, the most solitary man in history. After their work was complete, Armstrong and Aldrin returned to the lunar module. But a new crisis struck. A small circuit breaker switch had snapped off, preventing ignition of the engine needed to lift them from the moon. Without it, they would be stranded. In a moment of improvisation, Aldrin used a simple felt-tip pen to push the tiny switch. It worked. The engine fired, and Eagle rose back into orbit to rejoin Collins. On July 24th, Apollo 11 splashed down safely in the Pacific Ocean. The 3 astronauts were hailed as heroes, celebrated across the globe. Not everyone believed. Almost immediately, conspiracy theories claimed the moon landing was staged. But the evidence, the thousands of photographs, rock samples, and data, proved otherwise. The mission was real, and it was extraordinary. Apollo 11 was more than a victory in the space race. It was a victory for humanity. For the first time, people had left their world, walked on another, and returned home. It showed what science, determination, and courage could achieve. As Neil Armstrong said, the giant leap belonged not to one nation but to all mankind.